Welcome to ODI. I'm Tom Mitchell. I head the Climate and Environment Programme here at ODI, and somebody who's been working for the last few years on the Future Disaster Risk Reduction Framework. This event, titled How to Include and Empower the Vulnerable in Disaster Risk Reduction, is very much allied to the international process that we're involved in now towards a new international agreement for disaster risk reduction. And it's really my great pleasure to welcome you and a very experienced, insightful panel here to talk about this issue. Also recognising our online audience and really do hope that those online and watching online can participate in the discussion afterwards. Let me just give you a few words on how we intend to run this afternoon. A little bit of a departure from ODI events, if you've been to ODI events before. We have the panelists here, where we're going to introduce them one by one as we run through, asking Emma to start with to talk to the paper that you see sat on your chairs, and then ask each of the other panelists to talk from the perspective of their work and their experience in terms of the way in which at-risk groups and the at-risk groups in which they represent and work with are included in the Hyogo Framework for Action 2 document and the work that they've been doing in that regard. We're also lucky to have people on the line, Jake from the Philippines and Annie from India as well, who'll be contributing as long as the line stays clear and we can hold that up. But so that would be short interjections from each of the panelists, and then what we'd like to do is move into an approach really for the last hour of the session, where we try and jointly draft something as a conclusion from this meeting and from the expertise that we're drawing on, that can be offered to member states as our commentary on where the process stands and what's really needed in terms of the future agreement on disaster risk reduction. So the panelists here have been doing a little bit of homework over the last 2 hours and have come up with some suggestions of where we can jointly agree that there needs to be either elements kept within the draft document or that there needs to be new elements introduced. And therefore we'd like to put that up on the screen and get all your inputs and comments on that, with the view of actually trying to come to some conclusions about key messages for governments. And then to actually take that beyond this meeting and channel that to those governments that we think can make most difference in improving the document. So we're hoping this can be a kind of a live, multi-headed, multi-sided kind of input to a process that certainly needs expert input and insights from those working in this area. So apologies for a longer than normal introduction, but let me hand on to start with to Emma Lovell, a research officer in our adaptation and resilience team at ODI, who's been working with Virginie Masson to produce the paper that you see sat on your chairs. For those online, it's available on the ODI website, CDKN website. The paper is available on equity and inclusion in disaster risk reduction, building resilience for all.